edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Oh, you guys already know that Bears game last night, Monday night, beautiful. I haven't been that happy watching a Bears game since probably pre-double doink, man. It's been a long time, and more than anything, man, I'm just happy that they finally decided to fit the system around the talent and not force the talent into the system. So Justin Fields, man, he's making some miraculous plays last night against a top 2 defense in the league this year on the road. Hella impressive. Let's hope that this is the standard and not a fluke like an Appalachian State college win upset, man. So That's all I'm hoping for. Fingers crossed. But hey, I'll take a trend in the right direction. And Zoo, Bears and Packers are tied in the division, man. How does that make you feel?
How crazy is that?
I should have made the bet this year, man.
No, you should have, man. Because this year, man, watching the Packers is a disgrace on offense, man. Is a disgrace on offense. No running game, no pass game. And Aaron Rodgers looks like a joke, man. And that last play, which is sad, man. That was a sad attempt to beat the Washington Commanders, man. The Washington Commanders. That was just sad, man. And Rodgers falls on the ground last play, man, and he just down on the ground, man, because he's down in the dumps. He got his $50 million, man, but he got nobody to pass it to. And he got an offense that is unwatchable.
I'm sure we'll get into that one later.
I haven't said that in a while. Unwatchable this year, man. I don't like watching Packers games this year.
Yeah, it's pretty evident that Devontae Adams was their entire offense last year. And even this year with the 2 backs that they have, it just hasn't been. It's almost like they have no cohesion. And, Matt LaFleur is supposed to be a boy wonder. Well, he needs to start figuring some stuff out because it's getting really dicey in Packerland. But we'll talk about that in the second topic. First topic today, we will be addressing fantasy. Like I said, we're going to be getting into fantasy, pretty much every other pod. And for this one, we're going to get into, I guess you say, the fantasy superstars and the fantasy duds. Like you say, every year we all have our sheets and we do our research on who we think is going to be good and who's not. But as I've learned with football, man, injuries and just how offenses are, you just never know who's going to pop out. So I'm going to start with you, people. Who is your fantasy breakout this year or your surprise?
I mean, I wouldn't say – I think, a lot of people might shout out, on the running back side, Ramondre Stevenson. I know we were talking about him pre-production. But I'm actually going to go with a guy who's consistently been drafted relatively high in his career. But this year he's finally proving that he has even better value, and that's Josh Jacobs, man. This guy is carrying –
Bounce back for real.
He is carrying this Raiders offense, which clearly they needed because whenever they're relying on Josh Jacobs to get 20 carries for $140 plus – each game, it alleviates so much pressure off of Derek Carr that you don't see him chucking the ball away half the time. I think he might have gone like 21, 27, a little over 200 yards, touchdown, no picks this past week. Granted against the Texans, but this is a guy, man, that, we always kind of joked about in the past couple of years that, he was a 60-yard, maybe a touchdown kind of guy, gave you 12 to 13 points in fantasy in half-point PPR. Not usually too well utilized in the passing game. But this year?
Oh, wow.
This guy is taken to the next level. I don't know if it's a system change. I don't know if it's something that maybe he asked for. I believe he might be in a contract here, fellas. We might have actually been talking about that. So, these last 3 weeks, man, he's absolutely destroyed. He's been carrying a couple. I'm sure whoever has him on their fantasy team, he's been carrying you this past couple weeks. And he's definitely a surprise because, he's always been, a relatively high drafted running back, but he's finally proving that he could even be a higher value pick. Possibly going forward, even though he is getting older. So definitely a bit of a surprise this year with just the touchdown consistency and his usage because of how we thought their passing game was going to be this year.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great pick, man. Because Josh Jacobs, as you said, man, usually in the past, 3rd rounder, and then he went to like a 1st, 2nd rounder for a couple of years. And this year, the ADP this year just fell off just a little, man. To like the 5th, 6th round, 4th to 6th round, man. That was like good value there based on his relative history. And he's also young. Like people forget this guy came in the league a couple of years ago. And I'm not sure why his ADP dropped so much. Maybe because of the coaching change. People weren't too sure about that. And obviously he's not a pass catching back and there will be more pass heavy. But looking like whoever get Josh Jacobs, man, you're having a great year right now. Like this dude overall in fantasy football is the 5th best player at the flex position, man. Up there with Austin Eckler, Chubb, Saquon Barkley. So he's up there this year, man. So shout outs to you if you drafted Josh Jacobs because not many of these experts like Jacobs this year. A lot of people snoozed on him, man. But for me, man, I got to go with the guy that got all the preseason hype, man. I heard I didn't even know this guy existed, aka Damian Pierce, man, DP, man. This dude this year, man.
Absolutely.
He made a lot of noise in the preseason games because usually preseason games, man, it's just noise. It don't matter. But then PFF, man, they rated this dude's running back ability, man, #1 rookie. And then this guy first week, sharing the time with Rex Burkhead, people got a little nervous. But then this guy just took the job from him. And now you got Lovie Smith saying, we got to give this brother 20 carries a game. Because he's that good. And you got that dink of a quarterback back there, man. So it's a run-heavy offense. Even though the team is not that good, Damian Pierce is surprisingly efficient on a team that's quite predictable because they're just running the football right now. And this guy, as a rookie, man, you could have got him. You could get it from the 5th round to the 10th round this year. Very big variance depending on when your league started. So if you got this dude, you got an RB1 this year on a really bad Texans team. But it doesn't matter because this guy's producing and the coaching staff loves this guy. They love this guy. All I hear about rave reviews about Damian Pierce. So that's my guy this year, a young rookie running back, man. Shout outs to him for producing straight out of college, man.
He could win he could win offensive rookie now that Breece Hall injured. It's kind of between him and Pickens.
Exactly. Yeah. Breece Hall was going to be on this list until the ACL injury, man. As the Breece Hall shareholders out there, man, I feel sorry for you guys because you guys got a hell of a player because this dude, he's a flat-out stud. He was a flat. That game, he was like 3 carries for 70 yards.
Yeah.
Jesus. So good. His ability to go off. Jesus. So good. So good.
Sorry, Sean.
Listen, Breece Hall was like Le'Veon Bell, but faster. Literally. He did everything. Could catch out the backfield, could run. Like you say, I drafted well with my running back. So it was devastating at first, but, the guys I got on my bench and stuff, it kind of nixes the pain a little bit. But Breece Hall was really trending towards being finishing top 3 running backs. Like, he was trending up. He was going like crazy just with all, like you say, all the type of array of moves he could do, physicality, like, getting outside, swing passes, things like that. So it really sucks that he got injured because he was definitely a guy I was looking at. But for me, it is just the craziness of fantasy football. And you can kind of relate this to, just the regular season of the NFL, like just how it's been trending in the first 7 weeks. Geno Smith, to me, is one of the biggest surprises ever. He's a top 10 quarterback, a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Nobody even had him on his radar. And what's funny, and I think what's so funny about this is there's a guy in my big money league that he has him on his team. And who would have thought that a guy that has Geno Smith as a starter would be a guy in a league that's 5-2? That just tells me like, he could have a better team, but Geno Smith, you're like, oh, you got Geno Smith as your quarterback? You're probably not even over 500, no matter what your team looks like, because your quarterback's just bringing you down. No, Geno Smith has played like, who would have thought he would be better than Justin Herbert this year in fantasy? Nobody thought that. Nobody thought that. So it's like, you know what it speaks to? It confirms a couple of things. Now, I'm not on this train of where I think Russell is just completely washed and I think he's just not going to be a good quarterback ever. I think a lot of it may have to do with the scheme, and we're finding out that he's injured. But I think it also speaks to Pete Carroll and just how he runs teams and how he knows how to get the best out of his players. And, when Russell was first coming on, he had the Legion of Boom and he kind of had that whole thing carrying him, at the beginning, which I understand because he was a young quarterback. But then he kind of matured into who he was. But it's starting to seem like, Pete Carroll has the ability to, I wouldn't say he's a quarterback whisperer, but he knows what he can do to protect his quarterback and to put his quarterback in the best positions. Now, it does help that Geno has DK and Tyler, even though DK just got hurt. But Geno, man, his resurrection, not only in just the real life football with having the Seattle Seahawks 4-3, but him being a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, nobody would have saw that. And I feel like, if you believe in the theory of, maybe drafting quarterbacks a little bit later, unless it's a running quarterback, like Geno was a really good pickup if you was able to pick him up, and he might be a reason why you're doing well in fantasy, or part of the reason why you're doing well in fantasy, because he's a top 10 guy. And like you say, I mean, he's above Justin. I'm not sure. I saw another guy like that shocked me.
He's above Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Marcus Mariota. Like, dude.
No, nobody saw that coming. That's
wild.
Just the biggest surprise. And I don't think it's a flash in the pan. I think he's going to consistently be like this for the rest of the year.
especially if
So-
Kenneth Walker keeps playing the way he is.
That is true.
It only
Like I said,
helps
that's
too.
very true.
I think they're honestly helping each other. I mean, they
Mhm.
actually have to be defenses have to be aware of Geno's ability to throw the ball down the field, but also his ability to run, move out of the pocket. He's made some hell of throws on the run, even for his age. And then now you got this stud young running back behind, man. This
Seattle,
the shock of the year for sure.
I saw a video on Instagram, like they drafted really well too. Like I think they got like 2 defensive guys that are like starting either in the secondary with linebackers and stuff that are like rookies that are big impact guys. Like, and they got a left tackle, Charles Cross, that I think they drafted with their first pick. That's just a stone cold, going to be probably a 10-year veteran at left tackle. Like, it's trending up for Seattle, man. Like, they got the draft capital too from Denver, giving up Russell. Like, I know this is not an NFC West conversation, but man, if they just keep building on what they got going on, they could be in contention for wanting to be the kings of the West. So that's who I got for my trending up. And I guess I'll start off the one that's, I guess, a fantasy dud. And for me, I had this guy last year just because I was like, oh, maybe he'll be this flex receiver, flex tight end that'll be able to be a Travis Kelce light, and did not happen. Had one big game, I think, in London, but now this year stayed away from him completely. And Kyle Pitts, man, it's just been a disaster. And he got drafted. I'm not too sure in my league when, maybe second.
Second?
I think not second, like overall.
Second
round?
round?
I think second round. I think so.
Wow.
I have to go back and check, but he got drafted pretty high. And to me, it's not even that. At first, I think we talked about last time we talked about fantasy up like studs and people who are duds. I was like, maybe it's just the system. Maybe it's the quarterback. It's the coach. It's just he doesn't fit. I kind of said, if he was with Andy Reid, maybe he would be able to flourish more. And I still kind of believe that. And that, I would almost be under belief, like if he were to be traded to like a quarterback that knows how to maybe throw down, like I don't want to kill Mark Mariota because he's a decent quarterback, but like a quarterback who's more upper echelon, maybe he'll be able to flourish, but it's just not working in Atlanta right now. Mm-mm. And to me, the biggest indictment is that Drake London has gotten more targets. And even though he's had a couple of slow weeks, he's been kind of like their primary guy, and he's a rookie. Like you drafted Kyle Pitts, I think 4th or 5th, and you can't even get him the ball consistently. So it's not, it can't be because he's not good. It has to be the system.
Because
it has to be the system.
Drake's going down too. You gotta admit. I mean,
and that's probably Mariota.
And they run the ball a lot.
The coaching staff last week.
Coaching staff loves to run the ball with.
Yeah. Well, Arthur Smith came from. Was he part of the Tennessee staff or no? I'm not sure where he came from. I was about to say they ran a lot with Derrick Henry. I'm not sure who coaching tree he came off of, but yeah, I don't. Kyle Pitts has been, even though he hadn't even been on my team, I've been like baited into like, God, I want to trade. Because early in fantasy, I was like, man, there's no way he's bad. I got to trade for him. I was ready to give a package up, and I'm just glad I never pulled the trigger because I would have been really pissed off if I ended up with Kyle Pitts on my team because I just don't see any scenario where he bounces back to where he changes your life in fantasy. I'll put it that way. So he's been my biggest disappointment.
I almost forgot about him, Sean. I didn't even consider him in the duds. That's how much of a dud he's been, man.
Yeah, it's been awful.
Oof. Zoo, who do you got? I can't wait to hear this.
Man, for me, man, this is a guy that I love, man. I loved my pick when I got him. I got him in a lot of leagues, man. It's not Allen Robinson, man, because I hate that man. I ranted about him. I already ranted on him enough, man. But it is another wide receiver. I still think he's super talented. But the situation is not what I expected because I was high on this team's offense, man. I'm talking about the Denver Broncos, man. Cortland Sutton, man. My shares are down on him, man. I'm telling you, I thought Russell Wilson was going to change this offensive franchise forever. But it looks like Geno Smith is the winner of that trade of sending Russell Wilson out. Russell Wilson just absolute trash this year, man. His ability to throw the football, his ability in the red zone, not converting in the red zone.
Worse than the Bears.
Oh my! It is horrendous, man. It is horrendous. And now with the injury to Russell Wilson, who even though he loved Cortland Sutton as a target, Cortland Sutton got 5 to 10 targets a game, so he liked him as his target. He was definitely the number one option. But with this backup QB, Jesus Christ, man, Cortland. Oh, Jesus. He just got even more unwatchable with the Denver Broncos. I didn't think it was possible. But I remember seeing one pass. He chucks it down the field. to nobody, man. He was like throwing to the Jets. I was like, what is going on? I can't watch
at the
this
end of the game.
team. Yeah,
At the end of the game,
he
yeah, I
just
saw
shuts
that
it
one.
down. I was like, what is going on? This is the man that's throwing to Cortland Sutton, because I thought Cortland Sutton this year, easy top 20 wide receiver now. But now with the offense being as bad as it is, the quarterback situation with the injury to Russell Wilson, even though he wasn't even playing that well, and now with this backup quarterback, man, Cortland Sutton went from a must start every week to, I got to think about it. Do I got better options? Because right now, this week, that's what I'm looking for, some better options right now, because I'm a little nervous about the QB situation and the offense and the coaching. Just nothing about it is like, man,
Yeah,
so sad
Brandon
about
McManus
Cortland
is their team. Let's just put it that way.
Dude, it is, man. Every week, man, it's a multiple 3, 9 points, 12 points, 15 points. It's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. The Denver Broncos.
That's a good one too. I didn't even think about this guy, but I think you can kind of put Sutton and Pittman in a bit of the same category. I know Pittman has had some good games, but with Matt Ryan's woes, and now they're putting Sam Ehlinger in there. There's another guy, man, that I think, he still gets a lot of targets, and he is a clear-cut number one. They don't have like a Jerry Jeudy. I do like Alec Pierce. I think he's a solid young wide receiver
nice young receiver.
But at the same time, with all this quarterback issues, Pittman and Sutton are kind of two guys that I've been selling low on the past couple of weeks at least. But man, I'm going to go with, I guess I'll go with one that I'm a shareholder in, and it's not in our mutual league, Zoo, but I'm going with A.J. Dillon, man. Absolutely brutal.
He's
I feel like, honestly, I think you could consider him and Pitts might be the biggest bust, because they haven't even had one good game, really. I mean, even when Pitts scored the touchdown, I think he had maybe 3 catches.
Dillon, I think, had like 17 or 19 in the very first game against the Vikings. But after that, it's
you're right.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't think I played him that week. But
yeah, I did. That's why, man, I remember.
I know we're going to be talking about the Packers here in a second, but this team, I think the reason I was so high on them this year is because and we all see it now.
Yeah,
their passing game was not going to be what it was. And the only way that this Packers team was going to win was setting Aaron Rodgers' ego and play calling aside and focusing on the run, man. And they aren't even giving Aaron Jones enough. I know he's had some good fantasy weeks, but I don't think they're utilizing him enough. That he's getting all the goal line carries, not A.J. Dillon, even though Dillon is a clear bowling ball when it comes to the end zone. And man, just watching this, I can't even watch him play because he gets maybe less than 10 carries now, doesn't really do much with it. And they're playing from behind, so they can't really run the ball most of the time. So look, I think he's a stud of a player. I think, I don't think that they should move on from A.J. Dillon, thinking he had a bad season. I do think he has a bright career ahead of him. He just needs to get more touches. I think he needs a little confidence booster, and this Packers team is plummeting, and their confidence across the board is at an all-time low. So it's not helping. So I'm still holding on to him just for, bye week purposes and needing to throw somebody in there.
For sure.
But he has been out of my starting lineup for a couple weeks now. And man, it's just tough because this is probably the highest guy I was on this year for a good value pick, obviously. So
yeah, the Packers offense, man. You're down.
Just a bust in general.
Yeah, you're losing to the Commanders, man. You lost to the Jets. You lost to the Giants.
We are the Commanders.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. What's funny about A.J. Dillon? The only hope I would have for him is as it gets colder, maybe teams can't throw the ball as much, and you're getting in these knockout, drag out games, and if the Packers offense could somehow get any spark and they can get a lead.
Take a miracle.
I wouldn't even say a lead, like a double-digit lead, where it has to be a comfortable lead where they can then run the ball. Then I could see his value. But yeah, the goal line stuff, I feel like that's part of the problem. They get too cute. They do a bunch of Aaron Jones swing, those little dump passes. They don't do just like the traditional. Let's get A.J. Dillon and some tight end as the fullback and just run it up the gut. I can understand other teams maybe doing that because maybe there's some teams that don't have power backs. But you have A.J. Dillon, he's one of the bigger halfbacks in the league. Use him, use him on the goal line. But straight up, I kind of posed the question of which team do you see missing the playoffs in terms of the Packers and the Buccaneers? And Zoo, I'm gonna start with you.
I gotta go. I'm gonna be objective here, man.
Oh, okay.
I gotta go with the Packers, man. I don't know what they're good at.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're good at. The defense, I had high expectations. Nah, the defense is just not not that impressive at all.
No.
They don't get to the quarterback that much. They don't really get that many interceptions, man. The defense, snooze fest, man. It's not that impressive a defense. And as you can see, the offense, man, is just atrocious at everything, man. Bad at everything. Bad at passing, bad at blocking, bad at running the football, man. The quarterback is bad attitude. Just bad at everything, man. And Matt LaFleur, man, I want people to stop praising this brother, man. I don't want people to stop praising him because his offense is unwatchable. Aaron Rodgers is unwatchable this year, man. He lost to the Washington freaking Commanders, man. This is an atrocious defense. The Washington Commanders is one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And the Packers struggling to get up the field.
Yep.
And they have the lead. What is going on, man? And at least the Buccaneers, at least they got that awful division that they got an opportunity to win. I don't know. Maybe it might only take 9 wins this year for the Buccaneers to make the playoffs. Maybe that's what's going to take to get them in. But the Packers, man, you got the Vikings. My Vikings this year, man, we're 5-1, man. Very, very impressive, man.
Yep.
Very, very impressive. Even though Kirk Cousins, I'm still watching him. He's still not balling that well. And in spite of Kirk Cousins not being an upper echelon quarterback, they're still winning games. And my Lord, man, obviously the Lions have come back to earth with everything.
Yeah.
Man, not going to lie, though, Bears, Packers, man, they're in the same tier, man. Both mediocre, man.
Oh, yeah. But waiting to hear that for years.
Yeah, they're in the same tier right now. Because Jesus Christ, the amount of games the Packers are blowing right now, I'm like, Jesus, up against the Giants, Luke. Man, they never were up against the Jets, man. Losing to the Commanders, even though they were up. They can't close games right now.
Yep.
And they can't come back. So they can't maintain a lead or they come back from a lead if they're down. And I feel like the mental toughness of the team, it's not there, man. Aaron Rodgers, I love him as a talent. Poor leadership skills. Terrible leader. He doesn't have the intangibles, man. Always blaming teammates. Do you know who else you got to blame? You got the bag, man, so you got less receivers to throw it to. That's what happened, man. Your whole situation made Devontae Adams sick of you and bring his talents to the Raiders, man. And you know what he's doing over there? 28 targets, 58 targets, 0 drops. That's what he's doing. That's what Devontae Adams doing. He's doing quite fine without you, Aaron Rodgers. And you're out here throwing a Romeo Dobbs, and your number one option got fucking a donut last week, man. A donut. 0 receptions, 0 yards, and he played all the snaps. So the dude played, but he was just doing cross country last night.
Pull the Tony Snell, man.
Dude, seriously, man, a 0-0 performance, man. Jesus.
Well, that was as objective as I thought it would be.
Jesus, embarrassing. I'm telling you, man, I don't want to watch the Packers this year. I don't want to. Maybe he's trying for Jordan Love time. I don't know, man. Maybe they got to go full rebuild. Because Jesus Christ, Aaron Rodgers is not fun to watch this year.
No.
It's not fun. I'm thinking about waiving him on my fantasy team, man. It might be a little emotional, but I'm sick of playing Aaron Rodgers and him giving me 14 fantasy points.
When was the last time Rodgers was on a waiver wire, man? I can't.
Never, probably.
Honestly, no.
Unless he got injured or something.
He's been a backup.
But he hadn't really been injured.
No, he never got injured. I mean, I agree with you, Zoo. I'm picking the Packers here, but it's mostly because look, man, the Bucs look bad too. And that Carolina game.
Carolina.
I mean, I get Carolina. They kind of had a little chip on their shoulder. Everyone just writing them off. Nobody showed up to the game. PJ Walker, hey, he had a nice game, man.
Their running back is they're so bad.
Yeah, I mean,
running backs were who's that? Hubbard, Hilliard, or something. I only know who the running backs were.
Dante Foreman and Chubba Hubbard. Chubba Hubbard went off for like 100 total yards and a touchdown. They went off.
But, you look at that division, and I mean, the Falcons are tied for first.
Oh, Jesus.
And barring, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know he's on IR, but I don't know how long Cordero's out. So if they get Cordero back, I mean, that team could cause the Bucs issues. And, we haven't seen Jameis back in New Orleans.
Red rifle time.
Yeah, geez, man. Throwing picks right when his team needs it, because man, that last game that the Saints played, they should have won that game if Andy Dalton didn't make a couple of those throws. But, I think you could argue that division, NFC South, is relatively wide open, but I think that the NFC North is under a Vikings lock.
Yeah.
And the only way that either one of these teams is going to make the playoffs is if they win their division. And I just think that because of the Vikings holding up top, and honestly, Zoo, I think their defense has been huge this year. Even with Kirk Cousins only putting up maybe 16, 17 a game, they're getting big plays from Jefferson, and they're getting big plays from Dalvin. And Zoo, you better knock on some wood right here. He has not gotten injured yet. So, that's another big thing for that Vikings team. They're coming off a bye, and I don't remember who they're playing. They're playing the Cardinals. And the Packers got to go play the Bills, man. So you're looking at possible 6-1 to 3-5 hole.
Put in the hell already, man. Put in the hell.
Yeah, man. Put in the freaking hell.
So you're looking at a 2.5 game setback. Obviously, Packers haven't had their bye yet. So yeah, man, it's tough for me to pick the Packers here. You know, I'm not going to say that the Bears are going to finish higher than the Packers this year, but hell, they might. It could be possible for them to split the series this year finally. So yeah, man, I know Tom Brady's had his issues, and Godwin doesn't look really the same. They can't really get Mike Evans going.
That drop though.
Yeah. Fournette,
that's probably what they lost.
Yeah, I feel like he even said mentally after that drop, which was going to be like a 70-yard touchdown, mentally the team was out of it, and I would be out of it because Mike Evans is one of the best receivers in the NFL, man. That just doesn't happen. Yeah,
no. And Tristan Wirfs. I mean, right, Sean? I think Tristan Wirfs, their tackle, their young tackle, has just been an absolute monster since he got flipped by Khalil Mack a couple of years ago. Hadn't given up a sack since, I swear to God. He's been injured. They're having issues on their line, which we kind of talked about preseason as well, but it even got worse. So, but it is Tom Brady. And I think that if there's somebody that has more mental toughness between the two of them, I'm taking Tom Brady over Aaron Rodgers. So you might be right. 9 wins. Might get it done this year. Hell, maybe even 8.
Yeah, I believe the mental toughness, if we're having to do a vote on who has that, is Tom Brady all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll just play devil's advocate and pick, because I'm kind of with you guys with the Packers. Their offense is just really tough to watch. But with the Bucs, the thing that concerns me about them is I feel like they have way more talent just on the offensive side of the ball. And that you could argue, especially with the receivers, like I know the backs with Green Bay is probably better. Like you say, you do Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, even though A.J. Dillon hasn't done much this year. Leonard Fournette is their number one back. He kind of didn't look right Sunday. He just looked like he was going through the motions. And like I said, with their receivers, they have 2, virtual, not fantasy-wise, but just in terms of offenses, number 1 guys in Godwin and Evans. And the offense just seems disjointed. Now, that may just be because of the offensive line, but I think that matters a lot because Tom Brady's not a guy who can improvise, because as much as we don't care for Aaron Rodgers right now, he still has the ability to be, improvisational. I don't know if that's a word, but he can move around in the pocket and make plays, especially when, I think it was maybe the week before where he got blasted by somebody. I don't know who it was, but he got blasted pretty good. And I think that may have been the play that he hurt his finger. So, I kind of still believe in Aaron in that aspect of being able to make something out of nothing. But if you're talking about a Tom Brady that already it looks like he's showing his age and his offensive line is not any good, like where do you see, I guess, the wins? Because if you look at both of their schedules, they're pretty tough right now. Like if you look at the Bucs schedule, it's like, okay, before the season, you're like, yeah, they could go 12 and whatever with the schedule. But just looking at what they got right now, how they played against Carolina, because to me, I feel like that's a bigger alarm sign than what the Packers went through, because that's a division game against a team who's basically said we quit. I know you could kind of put we're rallying around this interim coach, but Tom Brady, in that situation, you see blood in the water, you should just attack. Like there should be no 21-3 type of situation with that, because they didn't even score a touchdown. So it's like, where are they? I know we just talked about the mental edge of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and if we had to pick a person who would be more mentally tougher, it'd be Tom Brady. But what does it say about the quarterback of the team where even though Mike Evans had that dropped and that's why they spiraled, why did they spiral? It's the Carolina Panthers. Okay, so what? You dropped that touchdown pass. You should be able to score on them in the next 15 drives that you get. You shouldn't just pack it up because, you dropped that one first pass. I can maybe understand against Patrick Mahomes, because if you do that against Patrick Mahomes, he's going to put 50 on the board. You can't waste possessions, but I feel like you can waste a few possessions against the Carolina Panthers and still be able to win the game.
Good point.
So it's like I'm looking at their schedule, like they play the Ravens this Thursday. That's going to be tough, even though I think it's at home. You then have to play the Rams, who's been up and down. Seahawks is not a gimme anymore.
No.
The Browns, is Deshaun back the 27th? Is he back?
He's back week 11. I think his first game's back is the Texans. So I don't.
Okay, Texans. So I don't know if that's November 27th or not. I mean, I don't know even know what week that is. I'm looking at it right now. But
you know what? No. He's back week 12 because it's an 11-game suspension, right?
Yeah.
They didn't double it.
I don't think he'll be back for the Bucs game. I don't think.
No,
'Cause
I
that's
think he's back the next week.
Yeah. So then it's like, and then you have the Saints division, and then you have the 49ers, which you got to go on the road and play that one. But, to me, I know the question is like, who do you think would end up missing the playoffs more? If I had to put money down, I would probably say the Packers just off the, strength of the Bucs division. But I don't know, man. This is the NFL. It would not shock me if both of them missed. It would not shock me.
That too.
Would not shock because I don't. Like you say, Aaron and them, it looks disjointed on offense. It's like, God, what are we doing? Like, you're not running the ball. You don't have a number one receiver. Like, Allen Lazard, like we said before preseason, he shouldn't be your number one guy. Like you said, Romeo Doubs is great, but he's a rookie. You're depending on the rookie to be your number one guy. I don't even think Devontae was doing that as a rookie. So it's like, yeah, all these factors are factoring in, or all these situations are factoring in him, not being as good on offense. But like the Bucs, man, that Panthers, I watched a little bit of the game because that was a local game here. They just looked like they were just like, all right. And Tom Brady looked like, for the first time to me, I know we always say, Tom Brady's older, but he just looked like, I'm not really into this. Like you say, now he does have, the Super Tom, and he can come back, but in the division, we'll maybe give him some easy wins. But Tom, to me, just doesn't he don't care about football anymore. You can tell because the body language of the team is not great. And they have their guys. It's not like there's a bunch of guys injured. So that's alarming.
The Packers need to just trade for Brandon Cooks, man. That's what
they got to trade for somebody. Dude, you know who they should trade for? They should trade for like DJ. Well, I don't know if they would trade. Because I think they're going to demand a lot for DJ Moore because I think whoever comes in they draft next year is going to be the guy for DJ Moore. Like they got to have a number one guy in Carolina for the quarterback they end up taking.
That's true.
Even though PJ Walker played better. So I don't think, Brian Burns would probably be on the table, but they need to go get like some team that has it's like a 2 or a 3. Like I think Claypool would be really good for them. Just a downfield threat. Somebody that could scare people over the top. Because with the Lazard and Dobbs, like Dobbs has got some decent speed, but they have nobody that can really stretch vertical. And Devontae didn't do that. But the difference is Devontae was a technician. So it didn't matter he had blazing speed. He could get open.
Yeah,
he can get open.
He runs.
MVS was their street guy.
Yeah, so they need somebody that can take the top off. They gotta, I even saw some things where Elijah Moore is pissed off about his role. Like, go get him. He's a nice slot guy. He's a slot guy that he can get open and eat underneath. So, and I know Aaron kind of maybe trends towards those receivers more, guys that can just get open in the middle of the field. So I don't know, but both of those teams need to figure it out because their schedules are not leaning towards them, to get right. It's gonna be tough. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting, but
that's far enough, Rebel.
As usual, like I say, we will always be talking about fantasy, football. That's basically the platter of topics we will be addressing for the next coming months. Make sure you guys tune into our YouTube channel, Bullheaded. Same thing, Quantro Knows on YouTube, Bullheaded_pod on Instagram, Bullheaded X64 on TikTok. Make sure you follow those. I try to separate the content, make it a little bit different so you guys can enjoy different pieces of the media that we do. And for me, Zoo, and P-Bush, we are out.